بسم الله والابن والروح القدس الاله الواحد امين.
All right, are we ready for the second session? Yes? Okay. So I'll try to be brief because I really enjoyed the questions that I received and the comments. So I say this is a two-way street. I'm not here just to share with you some knowledge. I am also I'm here to gain some knowledge from you. So your comments and your questions made me learn a few things. So I want you to keep them going, okay? All right. So equipping our children with strong faith. I have theoretical advice and practical advice. بس هبتدي بالtheory. حاجات نظرية بعد كده عملية. Okay? Because we have to have the theoretical as a foundation, and then we'll build the practical on it. Makes sense? So I have 5 very quick. Each one of these will deserve a lecture on its own, but I'll be quick and brief. 5 theoretical suggestions, advice, and then 10 practical advice, and we'll finish. First, anchor them, as we mentioned many times, in biblical truth. What do I mean by that? What does it mean to be created in God's image? I need to teach my child what that means. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean that I am created in the image of God? That's biblical truth. Secondly, what does it mean to live in a fallen world? We expect sinfulness and fallenness and wretchedness. We expect that because the world is fallen. Yet we're created in the image of God. What is my body? Does it belong to me? Is it mine or is it God's? And when did that transfer of ownership happen? When? The transfer of ownership, it's no longer my body, it's now Christ's body. Right after baptism, sacrament of chrismation, الميرون, when the priest anoints me 36 times, there's a transfer of ownership. These members, I explain to my child, my hands are not my hands, are the hands of Jesus Christ. And that's what St. Paul said. My mind, my heart, everything, I belong to Him. Just like was it the soccer player that I shared with you? That was last night, forgive me. Okay, so what is my body? Who am I? What is my identity? So I need to explain to my child. It doesn't matter what stage in life they're in. These 4 biblical principles. Number 2, recognize the source of morality. What determines right, wrong? My feelings? My social media? My friends? What determines right and wrong? I need to explain to them, what is my source of what's my moral compass made of? Where do morals come from? They need to know where they come from. Right and wrong are not determined by how I feel this day. Because that's what society says. Society says what? Feelings determine what is right and what is wrong for me. But I need to explain to my child that is not the case. Morality is objective and it comes from a transcendent, objective, moral, perfect being. And we explain to them who this being is. Number 3, remind them consistently, repeatedly, not just who they are, what is their body, where morality comes from, their purpose in life. I know it's a little bit deep and dense and intense to talk to a 5-year-old about their purpose in life, but with your own wisdom, not your wisdom, sorry, God's wisdom through you, you can explain to them in a way, why are you here? Meaning, what is this world to me? What is my mission to this world? Is to just be happy and live a comfortable, convenient, luxurious life at all cost. Is this what I'm here for? Or there's a higher purpose for me? Even a 7-year-old, there's a purpose for them. But can I tell you something? They will learn their purpose by seeing you fulfilling your purpose. You see? If your purpose in life. Why are you here in the Netherlands? Why are you in Europe? Why are you in this church? Why? Ask these questions repeatedly. Why? When they see you having an objective or a purpose or a goal beyond enjoying your life, they will follow that purpose and goal. You see, but that begins with me. I need to discipline myself in order to discipline my child. I need to elevate myself to a higher standard in order to elevate my child. What are we to the world? Just ingredients in the world, agents in the world, or there's a purpose for me to this world? What is the world to me? What is it? Just a place to live in? Or, I ask this to the youth many times, what is the world to me? You know what I say the world is, to be honest? Is a pointer to what lies beyond it. And woe to him or her who would mistake the sign for the signpost. فاهمين قصدي? Just like when you have a dog, if you have a pet, a dog, and you put the food for the dog in the kitchen or somewhere, and you go and point to the food with your finger, and the dog will come and sniff your finger. Sometimes, maybe not a very smart dog. He thinks that the food is in the pointer. They will never be fulfilled. They will always be hungry. The finger is just pointing to where the food is. But our society, our secular society, teaches us to be adult finger sniffers. In other words, we're always following the pointer, not what lies beyond it. The world just points to, when you see a beautiful sunset, what a wonderful sunset this is. How about if you let your mind go to the sunsetter? You see, what lies beyond it. Because this whole world points to what lies beyond it. That's what I need to teach my child. Teach them boldness. This is our conversation we had last night with the youth. How to be bold, how to speak the truth. And do so in love. That's what St. Paul said, Ephesians 4:15. Speak the truth in love. Correct those who are in opposition with grace. In humility, answer each one. Be always ready. This is a very famous verse. كونوا دوما مستعدين لمجاوبة كل من يسألكم. You know this verse? Always be ready to give a defense for everyone who asks you. What's the end of the verse? In meekness and fear. بوداعة وخوف. So how do I teach my child to have this very important balance? Speak the truth. Better speak it, not like this. Not like this. Speak the truth with love. This is a very important balance. The law came through Moses, John 1. And what came through Jesus Christ? النعمة والحق, truth and grace. We need to have that balance, truth and grace. So, I always tell my son this. My son who's 19 and 16, I have two boys. I tell them, stand firm in what you know to be true. That's boldness, gur'ah, courageous, confidence. Do it with love, with compassion. Okay? That's what we need to teach our children. Last point, manage the external influence that your child consumes on a daily basis. You're fighting from within and from, not fighting with, fighting against, within and without. Yani external influence, their friends. I need to know who my son's friends or my daughter's friends are. At that stage in their life, 9 to 10 to maybe 18, 19, their friends are the greatest influencers of their lives. This is psychology 101. And I'm sure if you're all parents, you know that. Manage that, not manage their friends. Learn who their friends are, how they influence them. And teach them to see if they are better people with these friends or worse people with these friends. School subjects and professors, even at middle school or high school, they also are getting the influence from the academic world. What they listen to, the music they listen to, lyrics of songs, and I can go on and on and on. Social media, what they consume in social media, we need to have not filtration process, but I guess filtration process, what they consume, because they build their worldview, their ideology, their even identity based on these things. Now, I left out church and home because they are very important, but I'm talking about the passive external influence. Compensate with the active, productive influence, the church and home. Okay? So 5 things, can we repeat them very quickly? 5 things theoretical. I'll get into the practical in a second. What are those 5 things? Number 1, anchor them in biblical truth. What's the next one? Hi, Habibi. Hi. Hi. What's the second one? بلاش لازم second. Tell me the 5 things randomly. Come on, are you tired? All right, let's review them again. Titles at least. First one, we said, anchor them in biblical truth. Okay? And then second thing, we said, recognize where morals, the source of morality, the source of right and wrong. Thirdly, we said, remind them their purpose, their mission in life, what they're here for. They're not just here to have fun and enjoy. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't have fun and enjoy, but that's not all they're here for. Number 4, teach them to be bold, to speak the truth with love, with kindness and love. Remember, because I have seen my friends extremes, people who are, I am speaking the truth, and they make a lot of enemies. That's not the truth. And I saw people who are just so kind, I'll do whatever, people pleasers. You're erring on the side of love and the side of truth, but you need to do both. Speak the truth with compassion and love. And lastly, manage the external influence. Are we all good with that? Can we get into the practical stuff? Maya? Okay. Number 1. Oh, I missed one. Forgive me. Number 6. Pray for guidance that God may guide you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. تحت أمرك. طب ممكن نديله مايك؟ نرجع واحدة تاني. Yes.
How can you do this without being a police agent? The 5th point.
Oh, okay. Police agents.
Police officer.
Okay. I see what you're saying, because they feel like you're restricting their freedom. And you can't have Instagram unless you have me as a friend. And I have to have your password on your phone. And I have to see it. I see what you're saying. Believe me, I've gone through the same situation. I'll tell you. Police officers, this is your definition or their definition. That's not my definition. I don't care what you call it. I'm saying to them, yani. You call it police officer, that's your definition. I'm not a police officer. I am just making sure that you're safe. And it's my responsibility for me to be, as a parent, to make sure you're safe. You call it police, that's your definition. I told my son, you want to be on social media? I have to be with you on social media. That's your responsibility. But then here's the thing. Every stage, and remember the references I shared with you in the first lecture? They will tell you every stage you deal with your child differently. Because if you're going to be, use your expression, policing them, well, they're going to go to college at one point. And if you're encroaching on their freedom throughout their lives, then they're going to go to college and say, bye, Dad, and they will go the other extreme because they have been suppressed. I don't want to teach my child that. I want to teach them to make the right decision, and I just look from a distance and make sure they're making the right decision. So every stage has its own way to deal with them. Yes, I will police you when you are 8, 9, 10 years old, because you don't have the right judgment in your mind. But as you mature, I talk to you, I explain what's right and what's wrong, and I watch from a distance. فاهم قصدي? Let them make that decision. That's the only way you can let them depend on themselves as they leave home. Because I've seen people who have been suppressed and they go to college and they go to the other extreme. We don't want that. All right. Practically speaking, here, Listen more. This is parenting بقى. دخلنا في parenting. But that applies for Christian principles or for just parenting in general. Listen more, lecture less. Or I said don't lecture. Don't even lecture. Listen more. Is this picture familiar to all of us? Here is the problem, my dear friends, is that the way we communicate with our children is by lecturing. And that's why whenever you start the lecture, they go like this. As a matter of fact, they number the lectures. This is lecture number 4. I heard this 600 times. This is lecture number 6. I heard this 200 times. Believe me, your children have this thinking. So I don't want to lecture them. Why are we lecturing? Because maybe this is the way we were brought up. But they cannot, again, project the way we were brought up to our children. So I listen. I ask them questions. I get them engaged in the conversation. I get into their feelings, their thoughts. What do I have here? Allow them to contribute to the conversation rather than just lecture. Listen. Ask about their feelings, their opinions. They will feel like, oh wow, mom and dad actually care about what I think, rather than, here's another problem. The only way we talk, not the only way, one of the main ways we talk to our kids: go clean your room, pick up after yourself, go do this, go do this, go do this, go do that. So mom and dad to the kids are what? Order givers. Amru nahi. Huh? Police of, actually that's worse. At least the order givers. Do this. So mom, dad, do you want to play with me maybe a game of whatever, Fortnite or FIFA or whatever? Can you play with me a game? Can you just talk to me about my friends in school? Can you just see ask about my feelings, my interests? Enter into their world. You'll become their friend and they will listen to you. You'll be able to influence them positively. Resist giving advice. This is actually, it's a big problem that we feel as parents. We're advice givers, not just order givers, advice givers. Ya habibi, slow down on the advice. They got tired of the advice. Wait until it's solicited and then give it. All right. Number 2, accept their mood swings, even silence. We as parents get very frustrated when my child comes from school, and then we ask them, how was your day today? Good. What did you do? Nothing. I'm not joking. This is what happens. Actually, now when they text you, you can text them a long message and they reply back with, okay. Actually, they drop the O. It's now K. Am I right? So they're just, and sometimes your child is in a great mood and wants to talk and sometimes they wake up, they're in a horrible mood. And you get frustrated. Don't get frustrated. It's part of their child, part of their development rather. It's part of they are going through struggles themselves. Empathize with them. So, accept their mood swings, realize that's a natural part of their stage, okay? Can I say something about number 2? I had a mom one time called me during a conference, and she said, you don't want to know what my daughter who's 17 did to me. I was actually talking to her. She raised her voice and she yelled at me, and I can never forgive her for that. And then she kept going on. How can she disrespect me? And She went on for like half an hour. She felt that her daughter just flat out disrespected her. After she finished half hour complaining, I said, Tant, do you know what your daughter is going through at the age of 17? Do you know? Do you even begin to know what the struggle, internal struggle, emotional, biological, psychological struggle she's going through at the age of 17? Can you just give her a break a little bit? Yes, she yelled at you. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but sometimes, you know what fawwit means? It's good to do that with your children. Empathize with them. Feel for them. They are going through struggles. Support them rather than add to them. Now I told Tant, it's not about you. My karamti, she yelled at me, and It's okay. If that's the continuous thing, okay, there's a problem. But مرة غلطت ابلعيها. It's okay. Feel for them rather than always pressure them. Okay, I just want to share with you that story. Number 3, be realistic. يعني ايه be realistic? We all want the perfect child. We all want straight A's, شماس, حافظ ألحان, بيعمل المطبخ. I mean, he does the dishes. She cleans her room. They have the best. We all want the perfect child. Anybody doesn't want the perfect child? ويطلع دكتور. لازم دكتور صح. Yes, يطلع دكتور. عندنا كده in our mind. أنا مش عارف ألعب عربي ليه. In our mind, we have this image of the perfect child. We want our child to fit that image and that mold. You're setting up your child to fail if you have that. Be realistic. Don't expect more than what they can achieve. كل child ليه specific gifts and capabilities. Use them, God-given, I should say, God-given gifts and capabilities. Use them, but don't expect the perfect child. And if they don't get that, you have a horrible son or a horrible daughter. Number 4, this follows with number 3. Encourage their individuality. For example, I love hymns. أنا بحب التسبيحة والألحان. I love hymns. And does that mean that my son has to learn hymns and know hymns? Absolutely not. Maybe he loves to read books. Maybe he loves Bibles, whatever. I love this hobby. Does that mean my son I'm a doctor. Does that mean my son or daughter have to be a doctor? So encourage their individuality. They're not an extension of who you are. But sometimes we say, well, I left Egypt and I sacrificed all this to come here, so I want you to have what I didn't have. Wrong. Don't do that to your child. You're actually incapacitating them rather than empowering them. So encourage them to be themselves. Let them make their own choices. And do not force them to be. So practice these. I'll give you some even practical stuff. Practice saying words like, this is okay if that's what you want. Now that could be, if I can't say this to my son because he could want crazy things. But practice these things. It's okay if that's what you want. I appreciate what you want and what you think. I trust your decision. That's a very good. Your son will be on cloud 9, or your daughter will be on cloud 9 when you say, I trust your decision. Really, Dad? Really, Mom? Of course, within boundaries. You know what I'm trying to say. This will make them more decisive and less tentative in life's big decision when you empower them to be themselves. Here is another very important point. Do not transmit the way you were brought up to your kids, and do not project your failures on them. Divorce your baggage or your problems, your issues, your failure. I'm not saying you guys, but other people's failures from the way your child is, and don't project it on them. Number 5, I discussed it already. Empathize with them. Practice words like, I'm sure this is bothering you. Really? Mom, Dad, do you really see what I'm feeling? That will, just imagine when you say this to your child or your son or your daughter. If I were you, I would have done the same thing. That's mental support they so desperately need. I see why you reacted this way. Again, I empathize and support what you do. Number 6, go beyond the daily routine. What's the daily routine? All parents, by the way, I'm not sure this is here in the Netherlands, but in the US and Canada, we're all drivers. We're all, mishkida, we drive them from, well, you guys don't drive your kids. We drive them to school, to this practice, to this practice. Go beyond the daily routine. What time they go to bed, when do you drive them, if they ate dinner or didn't eat, if they drank or didn't drink. What is that? Practice things like, you look happy today, or you made me happy today. You seem preoccupied, what's on your mind, and so on and so forth. So go to a higher level than just the daily routine. This is good for relationships, by the way, not just for kids and for husband and wives. It's important not to talk about just the bills, or you went this, you did this. You get into the deeper level of communication. Number 7, I'm almost done. Choose your battles. Choose your battles. Yes, I agree with you. It's very, very, this is not by order of importance, but I agree with you. It's choose your battles. I'll share with you battles to let go of, or battles to hold on to. ماشي? Okay. The battles to pick. دي بقى ايه؟ Non-negotiables. Doctrine. Well, Dad, you know what? I don't believe God exists. Is that okay? لا, دي بقى battles I'm not going to let go of. Let's talk about this. Moral stuff. Right and wrong, good and bad. Safety concerns. Mom, Dad, I'll be back at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who are you with? I don't know. Hold on a second. That's the battle that I cannot let go. Now, what are the battles you can avoid? Messy rooms. عندنا احنا في our culture, messy room دي مشكلة المشاكل كلها. How can you, your clothes is on the floor, you didn't do laundry. It's okay لو مثلا they had a long day, let go every now and then. Hairstyle. عندنا برضو in our culture, hairstyle ده يعني من الحاجات اللي هي مكتوبة في الكتاب المقدس. لازم يكون whatever. Chores, house chores, you did not take out the garbage today. It's okay. يعني, these are battles you can let go of, but some other battles you have to you cannot, non-negotiables. So be wise and choose your battles. I have seen parents that fight consistently with their kids because of something so trivial, something so insignificant, and then the important things they let go of. All right. Number 8, مهمة جدا 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 جدا. Do not compare them with anyone. And this is something I'm telling you honestly, this is something our culture can do more on, comparing them. Well, you know your cousin got an A in this class. Well, you مش عارف إيه, why aren't you like this person? Why aren't you like, and then even if we don't say it, we think it. Because we see other kids are doing great things. We want this. My kid is not doing the same thing. And do you know what? Can I be honest with you, brutally honest? It's about us more so than about their kids, our kids. Ibni ana, my son can't do this. I must have failed. It's about me because I'm projecting their success onto me. If they're successful, I am successful. Wrong. My very dear friends, it's not about you. And do not associate their failures and their successes with you as زي مثلا يجي. I'll tell you another example. Real examples I'm telling you. A child went, and this child came to me and told me this. He was like a 10-year-old. He went to his dad and said, Dad, I have some questions about the Bible. I don't know. I mean, I feel that there's some wrong things in the Bible. The reaction of the father was incredible. Are you kidding? Are you serious? What do you mean? And he went on and on and on and on. Do you think this son will go ever again to his dad and ask him questions? Of course not. But do you know why the father responded this way? Because the father was thinking, I must have failed as a father if my son is asking questions like that. I must have failed as a servant if my child is asking. So they make it about themselves. That's so selfish. So say, Habibi, it's okay. Ask all you want. Ask away. I want you to have this open forum. So do not compare them. Comparing them will foster animosity and resentment, especially if you're comparing siblings. ده أخوك بيعمل كده, دي أختك بتعمل كده, and so on and so forth. This is the worst thing you can do to your child. It will foster animosity and resentment. It is destructive for their self-worth. They will feel they will never match up to what mom and dad want. And here's another thing. If I get a B plus, I don't know the grading system here is, but let's say B plus, why didn't you get an A minus? If I get an A, why not an A plus? And so on and so forth. Number 9, I have 2 more. Avoid instilling fear and guilt. ودي بقى a weapon that we use all the time. As a matter of fact, even not just us with our kids, our grandmothers with us. I'll tell you in some examples. مثلا, your aunt, your grandmother, your mother, your father, whatever, and you call them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're busy Thursday. You call them Friday. Why didn't you call me on Thursday? Why? Where were you? And then inflict guilt on you. Why are you not celebrating Christmas with me? I may be not here next year. I may be dead next year. Why aren't you? And so on. So why they want guilt, so that they can let you do what they want you to do out of what? Guilt and fear. Don't do that to your children. You know why you failed this test? Because you didn't go to church last Sunday. Sometimes we say that. You know why you had an accident? Yani God forbid, because you didn't take communion last Sunday. Baba Yeshua هيزعل منك, and so on and so forth. Inflicting guilt and fear is the worst thing you can do for your child. They will grow up thinking, God is waiting for me to fall or fail, and He has a big kharazana in his hand, He will hit me with it. You see? Don't do that with your children. Teach them that God, I love what you said earlier, God is what? Loving, compassionate, merciful. Teach them these qualities of God. God is not happy with you when you do this. These are statements you don't want to say. Avoid saying these statements. If you don't do this, God will be mad at you. Mad, not made. Mad at you, okay? Number 10, and the last one. I feel like I'm running a marathon now. Number 10 is respond. Do not react. Reacting is about your mood. Responding is about your child. Sometimes you have a long day for shughl, many times, and you're tired. And you maybe had a bad conversation with your boss. You go home, you let it out on your son. Actually, sometimes you let it out on your spouse too. Okay? But it's not, it's important to understand your mood, your reactions, and so on and so forth. What's the difference between responding and reacting? Reacting is about our mood. Reacting shifts the focus from the child's choices to my state of mind, my mood. Responding is an intentional action. So what do I do if I had a long day or a busy day or I had a fight with my whatever? I come home and I unwind, relax, think, respond, because it's about them, not about me. Responding focuses on the child and considers the reason behind the misbehavior. So I gave you 10 practical parenting advice to help shape your child in what God wants them to be rather than what you want them to be. Because remember what I told you earlier? They're not your children. They are His children, and we're only what? Stewards, umanat, on these children. Ask questions like, what did I say here? Respond, not react. Ask questions like, what makes you say that? Why would you say that? And foster this kind of communication. Here is what I said earlier. Remember that our goal is to shape persons, not just to stop bad behavior. Remember, very important, I am shaping a person rather than stopping, that's policing, stopping bad behavior. This is hasanat, sayyat. Don't do this stuff, but do this. Don't do this and do that. That's not what we're doing. We're shaping an individual person. So finally, last slide is we need to understand our children. And the only way to connect with them is for us to understand them. And we need to connect with them so that we can positively influence them. And glory and honor be to God forever and ever. Amen.